Hey folks, welcome. This is the start of the Dragonflight prep series, as we've now gotten into the second week of the alpha and more information is becoming available. I am going to start this series, so without any further delay, let's get into the bulk of the video. Starting with the undeniable alt army. I'm sure you guys have seen this through a few prep videos now, so I'm kind of going to keep this bit short, but kind of talk you through why I'm doing what I'm doing. So to start with, the Warlock is going to be the character I am taking through into Dragonflight. Now, I can already hear some of you kind of screaming at me or calling me an idiot, and that's fine, but I'll talk you through why. Now, as some of you guys know, I used to be a Red Paladin main. That's how this channel started. But going into Sepulchre of the first ones, or the latest raid tier, I swapped to Warlock due to previous guild needs, and have transitioned from that previous guild into my current guild Erased on Stormscale EU. Now, this guild has been a steep learning curve. I am improving, I think. I get trial feedback in a couple of weeks, and that will give me some signposts as to where I'm going in terms of progression. However, as things currently stand, the officer team and I have had a conversation, and I am going to be sticking with Warlock going forward into the next tier, because this is what I joined this guild as. And Warlocks are generally in a good spot. And so I'm looking forward to when they release the talents and give us an initial look, so I have more information to work on, and I can plan and I can discuss various talents with the officer team and where I think Warlock's going, while also discussing it with the other Warlocks within the guild, because I'm quite fortunate in that I have a few other POVs to bounce off for Warlock content. So that is why I am going to be remaining Warlock. I do have my characters currently laid out in terms of priority. Orabox, the mage, he is purely going to be used as cover for my Warlock. If there's any fight where, you're not double or triple stacking Warlocks, for whatever reason, because of our raid comp, we may need a mage. Or if our resident mages aren't able to make a raid for whatever reason, then at least we still have access to the raid buff, should we need it. Now, Orabox, good old Paladin and the OG character, he is going to remain a channel-focused alt, so every season, an expansion release, I will do Red Paladin content. I will talk through the talent trees, so the alpha and beta, as we get more information on Ret, I will still cover it and release my thoughts and opinions, and will still play him to a reasonable degree, clearing 15s every season, all the keys, so 2k, 2.5k-ish score, whereas my Warlock's focus will be pushing 3 to 4k score, because I'm currently close to 3-2 on my Warlock and 2-3 on my Paladin. So a bit of a skill difference between the two classes, but I'd like to keep the Paladin going as a content theme for you guys. Please do comment below what you think to that. Now, Thistlemore and Orizard. Orizard is a level 1 Warlock at the moment, but this is just a name reservation for my Evoker. Kind of a Pokemon nerd. I used to like Pokemon a lot, and I thought that Orizard might be quite funny. It was either that, or I was going to take some credit and, call it Glader or something, because Oramis is a name I originally kind of morphed from Christopher Paolini's Inheritance Cycle. And it originally was Oramis, an O rather than an A. And I just call it Aura rather than Oro. But anyway, so Orizard, going to be an Evoker. But these two characters are going to be my gathering monkeys, as I can show you going into the off screen, and you can kind of see the professions here. I apologize, it is a little bit of a flashbang, but generally speaking, they're going to be my two gathering monkeys with herbalism and mining, respectively. Oromia, my priest, is a raid coverage alt. Now, this is purely from a consumable perspective. Technically, both my hunter and my shaman could come under this barrier here, and this is because depending on how the professions deal with consumables, obviously, as we know, my mage is going to, or as my flashbang showed, my mage is enchanting and engineering. Engineering for my mage is primarily so that I still have access to combat reses, at current at least, and depending on if Dragonflight retains Engineer's ability to combat res, that will remain. If that isn't the case, then we may see my mage actually become a consumable vendor for my warlock in terms of enchants and jewel crafting. But for now, at least, Oromir, my shadow/disc priest, is very much going to be responsible for cutting all my gems, being a little bit self-servant, and due to the information that has been currently released about it, may or may not be responsible for pumping out the items that allow me to put 3 gems on my necklace, which, given how the professions are looking at the moment, they're almost going back to classic-ish era, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are actually some very powerful gems that I will be able to cut as a result. So, you know, the old extra int or meta gems that did something like 3% crit damage or whatever else, which my warlock will save a lot of money if I can cut them myself rather than getting someone else to do it. Because one of the big things for this, especially at this, or one of the big reasons behind all this, is very early on in expansion, the cost of things, because they're so rare generally, is extortionate. And you have 2 or 3 ways you can deal with this. You can either be self-sufficient, which is kind of my shtick, as I'm going to be leveling everything and playing it and having a bit of fun at the start of the expansion. Be self-sufficient, trying to do as much as you can, but that does mean that you become limited by time and how efficient you can be. You then have the case of make oodles amount of money and just buy everything and be a tycoon, but the drawback to that is obviously you need a lot of capital to start with. And then the third option that you have is kind of a mix of the two, and depending on how professions sit paired with the rest of our preparation for Dragonflight, we're going to be looking at trying to sit in the third. Be as self-sufficient as we can with time constraint allowing, because remember, I do go back to university in September, and we'll be proceeding through that as well as trying to get a job and juggling a few other things that life throws at me at the time. So I may not have as much time to dedicate to sitting and doing all these professions, but hopefully, if that's the case, then I will be able to have enough capital to cover anywhere I'm lacking. And the same goes with my hunter, which is skinning and leatherworking, and my shaman, which is herbalism and inscription. Now, as a scribe and doing the glyphs and things like that, generally speaking, a lot of it is cosmetic outside of Vantus runes. Now, Vantus runes, depending on how things go with the guild, I may not need to provide Vantus runes for the guild because someone else might be doing it, at which point I can just donate herbs, which means that whatever herbs my shaman collects through the leveling process can then actually just be fed to my alchemist. And with both my warlock and paladin being alchemists, the ability to diversify what I'm specialized in, whether it be cooldown reduction, vials, potions, and duration increases or whatever, I can kind of make the most out of those and then ship all the consumables over to the warlock. Now, the rogue and death knight. At the moment, and as things currently stand, my rogue is mining engineering. Mining purely to feed my blacksmithing for money generation, and potentially my mage's need for combat reses and the like, because you've got to remember he is an enchanting primary as well, so I'll be disenchanting a lot of stuff that the mage can't use anyway. Now, my Death Knight is again another enchanter. This is going to be a case of my Death Knight is probably going to live and breathe as a tank, I think, going into Dragonflight. So I have some ability to tank and play around with things, because as some of you guys know, especially this season towards the back end of it, I've been playing a lot with Mad Skills and his community, and we're generally lacking for tank. So I'll probably end up having my Death Knight sit in the tank role, which means that I can run a lot of dungeons, I can run a lot of old dungeons as well, and as an enchanter, I'll just be able to disenchant everything I don't need. So if it's not a transmog I don't have, disenchant it and sell the materials. So hopefully it'll be a nice money spinner. Now you can see that I also have my warrior and a demon hunter that I am currently in the process of leveling, and these two are currently on the wings and waiting. Now, one thing that I do every expansion is I level everything. I level everything to max. That's primarily so I get to play it, but it's also partially due to an old habit I had in terms of flexing and being able to adapt to a guild's needs very, very quickly. Going back to what I said about Warlock, this time that isn't really required. I'm very fortunate in that I can knuckle down and get very, very good as one spec, or rather one class, and the specs that it provides. But what this does mean is, if I can get everything capped early with the professions as well, it does mean that it will open us up to be able to either provide more content for you guys, like say, I don't know, you want an arms warrior guide, or you want tanking guides, and I've done DK, let's do Demon Hunter or Paladin and go from there, then I can do on kind of a request basis, and it just kind of opens the channel up a little bit, because I appreciate that at the moment at least, and of late the focus has been rather narrow, so it opens us up. You can see my Aura Bank character, bless her, she just sits and earns me money as I flip things. But on the topic of flipping and gold, we will try to keep this series relatively consistent, maybe 1 to 2 weeks. Probably going to be a 2-week gap between this one and the next one, purely because I am dog sitting as of tomorrow for a week while the family go away. So I'll spend a lot of time downstairs with the dog. I'll move the computer and stuff, and I may stream one evening, at which point you all get to meet our lovely Doberman. But there's also the opportunity that me talking to you guys through this will actually just set him off completely, and I don't know as of yet. Raiding Sunday is going to be interesting. So for now at least, and to start the series off, talking about flipping, we're going to talk about how much gold I currently have. Because remember, part of the aim, especially through Season 4, is to amass as much gold as we can going into Dragonflight. So at the moment on the account, we have 3,037,081 gold. So we might as well say 3 million gold. And some shrapnel. And the intent is that by Dragonflight, we have pushing 6 to 7 million gold. And this is so that we do have enough capital early days to be able to invest in things like professions. Because the one concern, or one lesson that I learned going from Shadowlands into this future expansion, is there is a lot of money to be made from professions early on. And this expansion, unfortunately, a lot of it was gated behind capital. Now, hopefully Blizzard have learned lessons, which means that we don't have that repeating itself. But just being on the off chance that it might, we need to build our gold up so we can get in the doors quickly and obviously make that money back. Now, as the season goes on, I will release guides, tips, and things like that as to how I'm making the gold and how you guys might be able to do it based on what your intentions are. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's giving you a little bit of insight into how I'm doing things to start with, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care and catch you all then.